What's up, everybody? Welcome to Youwager this week, powered by Youwager.eu. I am Gabriel Morency. Let's do this thing. It's hard to believe, but week one of the National Football League regular season is rapidly approaching. The Kansas City Chiefs now getting 9 points over at Youwager.eu against the New England Patriots. A lot of talk about Julian Edelman and the impact of his loss. You know, long term, I don't really think it's going to be an issue for the New England Patriots. They're stacked. It's always been a next man up situation for them, especially with that slot wide receiver position. But with that being stated, the Kansas City Chiefs defense is a very stingy one, stingier than Mr. Burns on The Simpsons. It's tough to rack up a ton of points on the Kansas City Chiefs. 9 points is a lot of points. But before we get to the numbers this week, and we'll get you caught up to date with all the lines, week one of the National Football League, and if it was anything like week one of the college football campaign, I better get my pacemaker out of the closet because it's heart attack city. We'll see what happens this week in the NFL. Like I said, we'll get to a couple of the games. I'll give you some of my best bets, and we'll take a look at the lines for all of the football games week one of the National Football League. But first things first, this video and this weekly podcast is powered by Youwager. Some great people that I met in Costa Rica that have been in business for 18 years. It's a great book, and we'll give you a list of reasons why Youwager is one of the best places to play for the upcoming football season. So let's jump in here. 10 reasons why Youwager crushes the competition. Crushes the competition. Just like we're going to crush the number. Listen, we love you, Youwager. You guys are good guys, but we're coming for you because I'm fired up and I'm ready to win some money this year, and you're giving me a lot of reasons to lay it down at Youwager. So let's jump in. 10 reasons why Youwager crushes the competition. Number one, big bonuses. Everybody's always about the bonus, up to 75% on initial deposits and up to 20% bonus on reloads. And I'm a big fan of the reload. You know, because if you're reloading, it means you're coming off a bad week. You're coming off a bad run. So if you're going to reload, and, you know, often you get tempted to go to another book because you're like, oh, you know, these guys, if I reload, I'm not going to get any bonus. I'm not going to get a deposit bonus. I'm a big fan of the reload bonus. Job well done right there, up to 20% on reloads. Cashback program twice a year. Nothing wrong with getting cash back. Free entry into the NFL handicapping contest. 5% juice on Friday nights during the regular season. Now, this is cool. You know, you look at the college board. There's always a ton of college games on Friday nights now. Nothing wrong with 5% juice right there. Rebates on cash deposits of $100 and over. That's solid right there. Safer than a bank. 18 years in that business. Youwager has an impeccable reputation. If you can check out the reviews and the rankings over at sportsbookreview.com. Fastest payouts. They got great payout systems for, you know, all the new school ways and everything else in between. Great payouts. $7,500 in free contest every week during the regular season. That's solid right there. I'm a big fan of the contest as well. Monthly calendar promos and a long-term loyalty program. Those are the 10 reasons why Youwager crushes the competition. I'd say the best ones are the 75% on the initial deposit. And a lot of books, they'll tell you, oh, we're going to give you 100%, and you know, only up to a couple of $100. So Youwager will you know, go pretty high. 75% on your initial deposit, 20% on a reload. Big fan of that. I'm going to get into the free NFL handicapping contest. And, of course, last week we talked about the Youwager.eu Survivor contest. I'm a big fan of Survivors. I won a Survivor pool last year, $5,000, yet the Youwager one is $50,000, in the $50,000 range or so. I'm going to be participating in this Survivor contest over at Youwager.eu. So there's a lot of reasons why to play at Youwager.eu. Listen, we've all been doing this for a long time. We all have accounts at different books, but it's nice to get value when you can. And there's so much competition out there right now. It's nice to get value when you can. And it's nice to get some of these great promos like this. So those are the 10 reasons why you should be betting at Youwager.eu right now. And jump in that Survivor contest. It's going to be wicked. Up to $50,000. And I wanted to get up there to $50,000 because I want to freaking win this thing. So let's get down to some numbers and some thoughts on week 1 of the National Football League regular season. I got to be honest with you. I think it's a tricky card this week. There's not a ton of games that are jumping off the page at me. Yet I say this right now, and you know, I know by Sunday I'm going to have action on like 7 or 8 early games somehow, sides, totals, teasers, and everything else in between. But the season kicks off with the New England Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs. The public's going to love the Patriots in this situation. There's a lot of negativity about the Chiefs coming into this year, and I get it. You look at the Chiefs' skill position players on paper, and listen, Conley and Hill aren't scaring anybody. Tyreek Hill's an explosive player. He's a good playmaker, but is he a legitimate number 1 wide receiver? I don't think so. I guess time will tell. Alex Smith is better than people give him credit for. And Alex Smith has had a great camp. All that talk about Mahomes becoming the starter was a bunch of crap by the mainstream media. Don't listen to the mainstream media. Fake news. Fake news. You know, you can't trust the mainstream news in the real world or the sports world. Oh, Alex Smith is done in Kansas City. Not yet, he's not. Not yet, he's not. I don't know about the Chiefs this year. You know, the Chiefs, to me, they could be a 10-16. They could be an 8-18. I don't think the sky is falling on the Chiefs like a lot of people are saying. But I look at this football game, and I think the number's a little bit high. The only thing is nobody's ever gotten rich betting against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, especially in a season opener when they're hanging a championship banner. I remember in the old days, Super Bowl winners would never cover in week 1, but that was a long time ago, man. That was like 20 years ago and stuff. And in the modern era, since they've been doing this Thursday night deal, the Super Bowl champion and the home team generally tattoos the other team. So, you know, this is a tough football game. You don't want to come running out of the game and lose your bankroll with the first game now, do you? But with that being stated, I'm leaning with the Kansas City Chiefs, man. Nobody ever accused me of not being bold, all right? I've been called a lot of things, but nobody's ever accused me of being timid before. I'm willing to take the 9 points with the Kansas City Chiefs, and even though this is like suicide, I never win when I bet on unders. I get screwed. I had the under in that Michigan-Florida game the other day. One of the worst beats ever somehow. And I was in Vegas for that. It was heartbreaking, all right? You know, ruined my trip, man. But you know what? Vegas is fun, but I like being online better. You don't have to wait in line. You can buy half points. You can do whatever the hell you want online. In Vegas, you know, you're not online, you're waiting in lines. You know, I spent like 3 hours over the weekend waiting in lines trying to get bets in. You know, you wager, there's no lineup. I like that. But yeah, I always get screwed when I bet on unders. But I see this Kansas City New England game. I don't see it as a track meet. I don't see them both going up and down the field. I see the Kansas City Chiefs trying to play a ball possession football game in which they hand the football off to West, they hand the football off to Kareem Hunt. They try a couple of reverses. They get the ball into Tyreek Hill's hands and see if it can make something happen. I know it's risky. I'm not going to be betting my whole account or anything like that, but I just think 9 points is a little bit too high. I think they'll be fine without Edelman, but at the same point in time, Cooks is new. Dorsett just got there. Gillislee is new. Gronkowski hasn't played in forever. And the New England Patriots probably going to win this game, but I keep on coming back to like a 24-17 style football game in this game. The Arizona Cardinals and the Detroit Lions are playing. This game's in Detroit. Right now, Youwager has the Cardinals -1.5. The total is 48 in this football game. I'm high on the Cardinals coming into this year. Led the league in sacks last year. Top 10 in both, against the run and against the pass on defense. I think Carson Palmer's in a good bounce back year this year yet. Come on. Arizona and Detroit in week 1 in Detroit. You know this football game's coming down to the last couple of minutes. Right? You know it. Let's be real. This game's going to be coming down to the last couple of minutes here. I do lean Arizona. You know, one interesting stat. Last year, the Detroit Lions secondary and defense allowed opposing quarterbacks to complete 72% of their passes. All right, you don't have to be a fantasy geek or math major to realize that's not very good. So Carson Palmer should have some success. I think David Johnson has a big game, but this game's going to come down to the wire. But Arizona's -1.5. Total is 48. The Atlanta Falcons are laying 7 points. Total's 49.5. I came across an interesting stat actually earlier in the week pertaining to teams that go winless in the preseason. Both the Raiders and the Falcons didn't win a single game in the preseason. All right, the last 16 teams that didn't win a game in the preseason went 4-12 against the spread in week 1 after losing all the preseason games. So there is such a little bit, preseason doesn't mean anything, but it kind of does, and there is a little bit of momentum. Now listen, I don't think the Chicago Bears are going to beat the Falcons, and I understand if you're going to take the Falcons in a survivor pool in this one. But with that being stated, it wouldn't shock me if the Bears cover the number here. It's 49.5. Crazy things happen in week 1. Joe Flacco, all right? Joe Flacco's been banged up. The dude's barely practiced. He's back on the practice field right now, but he's not in game shape, and they're playing in a couple of days. I think the Cincinnati Bengals win this game. Famous last words, and I've lost literally hundreds of thousands of dollars betting on Andy Dalton over the years, but, man. Joe Flacco, he doesn't have anyone to throw it to. You got Joe Flacco, and who? All right, Jeremy Macklin's there, Brashad Perriman. What the hell? Brashad Perriman's never done anything. Danny Woodhead, the Ravens offense is full of cast-offs and stuff. Total's 42 in this game. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to find a way to win this football game. Jacksonville Jaguars are getting 5.5 against the Texans. Texans don't get a lot of love from the public, so the number's 5.5. Texans probably win this game by 7. They played last year in this, I think it was week 1 actually, and I had the Houston Texans in a survivor. I think it was 19-14. Jacksonville hung around in this game. Was it, might have been 2 years ago. Might have been 2 years ago. But I'd lean with Houston here. They're going to be playing for the hurricane victims and Hurricane Harvey and all that. It's going to be a very emotional game for the Houston Texans. They should knock the crap out of Blake Bortles. It's Blake Bortles, let us not forget. Total's 39.5 in that football game. I do like the Titans to beat the Raiders. We were talking about teams that don't win a game in the preseason. The last 16 teams that did this are 4-12 in week 1. I think the Falcons probably, Falcons are going to win. They most likely cover. I think this is the spot, though, where we can play this trend of winless teams in the preseason. I've been telling people this, and I happen to be wearing a Raider jersey right now, but it doesn't mean I'm betting on the Raiders this week, all right? I think the Raiders, last year, 12-win team. They won a ton of close games. Their winning margin of victory was 31 points through 16 games. That was the slimmest margin of victory for a 12-team win in the history of the National Football League. Raiders are a little bit overhyped coming into this year. Love the over of this game. Love it. Total's 51 right now at Youwager.eu. Titans are -2 points in this game. Money line's -130. I like the Titans to win this game in a really close, high-scoring game, but I love the over of this game. Eagles are -1 at the Redskins. And you know what? I'm kind of high on the Eagles coming into this year, but, I don't know, man. Should the Eagles be favored on the road in the first game of the year? I know the Redskins kind of struggled in the preseason, but nevertheless, total's 47.5. I like the over of that football game. Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are laying 9 points in this contest against the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Kaiser will be starting for the Cleveland Browns. I think it's a mistake that they're starting Kaiser right now this soon. The kid's good, but he's freaking raw. He made mistakes at Notre Dame. How's he not going to make mistakes here against the Pittsburgh Steelers? And I get it. You want to throw him out there and get the learning curve going. I just would have waited like 3 or 4 weeks. Let him get acclimated to standing on the sidelines and see real live bullets flying around. Yeah, he looked good in the preseason a couple of times against backups. This is a big step up in class for Deshaun Kaiser. Steelers are laying 9. Probably going to be the most popular survivor pick of the week. Total is 47. Indianapolis Colts, 3.5. 3.5-point underdogs against the Los Angeles Rams right now. And I was just in Las Vegas last weekend, and a lot of hype around this game. All right, people are liking the Rams because Scott Tolzien, Andrew Luck's going to be out. A lot of hype around the Rams coming into this game. They got Sammy Watkins, they got Tavon Austin, they got Robert Woods, they got Todd Gurley. I expect Todd Gurley to bounce back. He's got a chip on his shoulder. Rams laying 3.5, total 41.5. Probably one of the better games of the week, if not the game of the week. The Seattle Seahawks are 3-point underdogs at the Green Bay Packers. The total is 51 points in this football game. I think this is a great teaser spot. Get the Seattle Seahawks up to plus 10 over 44. I think this game goes over the 51 points, though. I think that game goes over the 51 points. We got the Carolina Panthers. Panthers are laying 5.5 points at San Francisco. And I've talked about this stat a couple of times on my TV shows already this week and on the radio, etc. But you know, the San Francisco 49ers have actually won 6 consecutive season openers. That's, you know, it's unbelievable to me that when you consider, and you know what's unbelievable about this, that's a franchise record, man. That's a franchise record, okay? So think about that. They've been freaking terrible. All right, you had Harbaugh, you had Alex Smith, and you had Kaepernick for a couple of those games. But think about like the last 3 years or so, whatever it's been. Yeah, it's about 3 years, 4 years. They've been freaking terrible. They've gone through coaches, you know, they've gone 2-14 and stuff, but they always win the first game of the year. And, you know, I like the direction that San Francisco are going in. They have a ton of talent on the defensive side of the football, okay? They've got a ton of talent on the defensive side of the football. Their offense might struggle a little bit against Carolina. I think the total's too high. Youwager.eu has it at 48 right now. I think it's a lower scoring football game. And I think San Francisco are a really live home dog here. They're getting 5.5 points. They got Carlos Hyde. He's going to be able to run the football. You know, Hoyer can manage a game. To me, it really hinges on San Francisco's defense and how they match up with Carolina's offense. And I think they match up relatively well. I think there's going to be a monster improvement with San Francisco's defense this year. It's 5.5. I think it's a lower scoring game. And if you're really feeling, you know, if you're really feeling bold, how about a little money line play? San Francisco 49ers plus 210 on the money line. All right, we got Monday night football. The New Orleans Saints and the Minnesota Vikings. This is an interesting football game. Two teams, different philosophies. Different philosophies, yet you look at what New Orleans kind of wants to do right now. And, you know, New Orleans is sort of quietly, they want to run the football a little bit more now. Yeah, they got Michael Thomas, and, you know, Willie Snead's going to be suspended for the first 3 games. And you know, I kind of sour a little bit on the Saints because of this. I was leaning with the Saints, actually. And it's funny because I told people I think the Vikings are a playoff team this year, but I don't like what I've seen from the Vikings in the preseason offensively, and even defensively they struggle a little bit. Even their number 1 unit has struggled. And I think the Saints' defense is going to be better this year than they were last year. And their offense, we know their offense is damn good. I just wonder if the Saints put up, like, you know, to get to 21 or 24, are the Vikings going to be able to keep up? And then finally, in closing, we got the Chargers. And the Broncos. Broncos are minus 3.5. I always take the Chargers in this matchup, but I'm also always usually getting 6.5 or 7 points. Spread feels a little bit low. I'm not a Trevor Siemian hater. I've got confidence in Siemian. I can see the Broncos starting off the season strong in this situation. Now, the 2 games that we didn't get to off the board right now, but they'll be back up on the board shortly. Tyrod Taylor and the Buffalo Bills against the Jets. Looks like Tyrod Taylor's cleared to play. He's out of the concussion protocol. It looked like maybe he was going to be Mr. Peterman at quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. But Tyrod Taylor looks like he's good to go. And I'll tell you what, man. You know, you want to talk about having balls of steel. How about taking the Buffalo Bills in a survivor pool week 1? No one's going to want to do it. No one's going to want to do it. Everyone's going to jump on New England. Everyone's going to jump on Pittsburgh, Atlanta, etc. But one of those teams loses, man. It's like 30% of the field gone. And I'm of the belief of I like to take a couple of risks earlier in the season than later. If I'm going to lose a survivor pool, whatever. If I lose it in week 1, I lose it in week 1. Now, I'm not trying to throw my money away, but I legitimately think the Buffalo Bills are going to win this game outright. I think they could beat them even if Nate Peterman was the quarterback. I think the New York Jets are that bad. Now, the Bills are going to struggle this year, but the Jets are putrid, and they actually might not win a single game this year. Like, they're legitimately that bad. Now, it was a wild week of college football. And when I say wild, it's kind of an understatement, right? Kind of an understatement. Yet we have a couple of intriguing games this week. Let's take a look at a couple of the marquee matchups before we get you out of here. Alabama, of course, beat up on Florida State last week. They're laying 43.5 points to Fresno State. I'll tell you what, crunch the numbers, guys. Look at Nick Saban's numbers when he's laying this type of points. He has no reason to cover this number. It's a lot of points, 44 points here. Nebraska's getting 14 against the Ducks at Youwager right now. How about UCLA? UCLA are laying 23.5 against Hawaii after that epic comeback. And, it's funny. Everyone said UCLA sucked for 3 quarters. And now they're laying 23.5 points. Auburn and Clemson, one of the games of the week. You have to wonder if Auburn's quite ready for this. Clemson, very impressive, although that was against Kent State last week. Clemson are laying 5.5 points in this football game. And then the marquee matchup of the week this week, the Oklahoma Sooners are getting 7.5 points at Columbus against Ohio State. Ohio State massacred them last year at Oklahoma. Is it payback or is it deja vu all over again? And finally, in closing, guys, another big football game on Saturday night. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish coming off a very impressive beatdown over the Temple Owls. Get a Georgia team that was very impressive but lost their starting quarterback against App State. So Fromm comes in here. He looked pretty good. Kid's a freshman, though. He's coming in here. Now he's got to go to South Bend. The numbers are coming down, though, man. Notre Dame are now laying 4 points. So there's your Youwager update and line check. We gave you the 10 reasons why you guys should be playing at Youwager. Last week, we did a full 60-minute show with our boy, the Raging Redhead, Cam Stewart. This week, we're shaking it up a little bit. And we're going to be doing 2 mini podcasts a week, 20 minutes apiece, give or take. I always end up going a little long now, don't I? But we're going to do twice a week, so we'll see you again on Friday on Youwager this week. And we gave you the reasons to bet there. Do it. We'll see you in the survivor pool. Let's build that pot up to $50,000. I am Gabriel Morency for Youwager this week, powered by Youwager.eu.